Thank you very much for that introduction. Good morning. It's great to be speaking after such a powerful speech from Mr. Rajiv, who spoke about his steward leadership and who spoke about if nothing works if it is not driven by the value system. And I think my topic today is Tech for Green India, the mission for net zero. I think when we talk about technology, maybe first thing we all should agree that technology is available today and technology works. And it's not a debate about the technology A versus B, because there's a very high chance that both A and B will work. But it is about coming down to the leadership, coming down to the value system, coming down to the what motivates us and how to get it done. But following on the topic given today on the Tech for Green India, allow me to speak very briefly about what is driving the landscape for net zero and sustainability, and what are the opportunities and focus areas should be for Green India, and then role of the smart cities and smart buildings in the sustainability journey, and then finally briefly about what's the role of Johnson Controls and how we can contribute to this journey as well. The urbanization, back in 1960, the urban population in Asia Pacific was about 250 million. And today that is about 2.5 billion. And it is continue to go and increase and going to add another 1.5 billion over the next 20 years or so. So amount of urbanization that's happening is much faster than any other developed region, how quickly this urbanization is happening. With the urbanization, the challenges of land scarcity, the public funding limitations, and other difficulties that is coming up to making sure that not only it doesn't harm the environment, but more importantly, becoming a human-centric growth, that humans are getting what is required to live the life that they deserve. And with all these things, every country, what used to be a nice thing to have about decarbonization and sustainability, now it is about firm timelines, firm commitments. Two of the largest countries in Asia Pacific, China, has committed to carbon peak by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. And India has committed for carbon neutrality by 2070, and other countries in between has committed in the same time frame. Again, what used to be some of these commitments that governments make, they slip, because they used to be nice to have, but you can see now everything that is going on, this has become a serious topic. I think I always say that in human history, probably the problems that we are dealing with today with the climate challenge is the biggest problem that history and our lifetime is definitely facing. If you do not fix this problem, the generations after us are probably going to look up to us and hold us accountable for not doing the right thing. I think that is clear why these governments are making serious commitments and trying to get everybody to work on it to achieve these goals. India definitely, with the G20 presidency and other aspects of it, have a unique opportunity to lead this transformation. Fortunately, 70% of the buildings that are required are not built yet by the time the government is committed to achieve the carbon neutrality. So if 70% of the buildings are not built yet, we have an opportunity to build it right. Build it right, that it is qualified and it meets the requirements that is necessary. And the real estate is committed to get carbon neutrality by 2050. And again, amount of talent, the capability that is available in India, the technology available, talent is available, and the growth provides a unique opportunity to lead in this transformation. And Johnson Controls is uniquely positioned and bringing in technologies as well. We have about 10,000 colleagues working in India, uniquely designing products and technologies to support this journey. We spoke about ESG earlier, that ESG is good, great, but why it is not moving. So I think we can speak about that later as well, that yes, governments come up with the regulations, industries finding loopholes that was like was mentioned by the earlier speaker, and and it's not working. But how can we make sure that we can close these loopholes? And what is available from the technology standpoint, while we continue working on making sure we cascade down the right value system, that people do not use loopholes as well. So again, Johnson Controls as a leader in ESG practices and a digital enabled capabilities are supporting this ESG rollout globally as well. India's uniqueness that it has in a buildings and construction industry, it's giving 1/3 of the carbon emissions. And as well as the green building practices that's going on, particularly led by the IGBC. I was talking to Mr. Gurmeet Singh earlier, that every type of buildings, every type of verticals and applications, organizations like IGBC coming up at setting standards, helping driving that, and the technology piece coming up. And the recent budget in India has highly focused on the green growth, with coming up with the green credits and green energy, green mobility, and green farming and so on. So it's that holistic approach that truly committed and apparently connected to achieve these goals. So, and that is everywhere. And opportunities for greener future, it's in everywhere, whether it's renewable energy or smart city initiative and a wastewater management and public transportation. And technology can reduce the consumption. Technology can reduce how much energy is being used, but people also need to change our habits as well on what we can do as well in terms of what temperature we use for air conditioning, and how much public transport is possible versus having multiple vehicles at home. So there is one aspect of the habits that need to be worked on, one aspect of making technology available and at a higher efficiency and a lower utilization as well. So buildings play a very, very important role. It's buildings accountable globally for 60% of world carbon emissions. And India, that could be even higher. Indian cities, buildings, has about 60% of the carbon emissions coming from the buildings. Therefore, it's important that we address the buildings problem. If you do not address the building problem, if you do not decarbonize the buildings, there is no decarbonizing the future. So when it comes to buildings, that we will hear, it's a race for net zero. It's a race for net zero. Everyone is, how do we achieve net zero? It's a mega trend. And then the healthy buildings. I think we all learned from the recent pandemic the importance of healthy buildings. And 1% improvement in air quality, you're going to have significant impact in the financial statements as the research suggests. And at the same time, providing advanced security as well. I had the privilege over the last 2 days being in India to meet leading customers in Delhi as well as in Mumbai and here in Chennai, and it's the amount of requirements that these customers are asking, and it's second to none in the world. There was a time where the technology rollout in India used to be slower than other developed nations, but today the requirements that Indian customers are asking when it comes to achieving the decarbonization and achieving the healthy building, digitalization and the security systems is second to none. And it is clear indication that the general public is ready, customers are ready, and the government is ready. Now it's all of us getting together and make it happen. So historically it used to be every building is an individual traditional building. It has its own HVAC system and other independent systems that generally not talking to each other and you connect to the power and operate. And that was probably the least efficient system that was available. And then they were able to get connected with IoT devices and start collecting data and then ultimately integrating it to getting a smart building. But that is not enough. Knowing how much energy is consumed and areas to improve is not enough, and ultimately getting an autonomous building. When you get an autonomous building, what you get is the building is ultimately figuring out by itself what is the optimum operating conditions that it should operate to provide the outcome that the human required inside, but at the same time providing the best environmental friendly level of operating conditions as well. Quite frankly, when we talk about technology, we talk about getting autonomous cars driving from East Coast to West Coast in the United States. That's a very hard one. Getting a car without a driver on a freeway driving 100 miles an hour, that is very difficult because you're carrying human lives in this heavy, highly difficult environments. But people work on it because technology allows them to do it. It's difficult, it's a tough technology, but still people work on it. Companies invested and got it done. But doing the same for building is a much easier task. Much easier task. But wasn't done. Wasn't done because that wasn't the focus. That wasn't the focus. So therefore, I think with the decarbonization and sustainability net zero goals, we do have an elephant in the room. We do have one thing that we can tackle in getting net zero, make a huge progress, that's building, getting the buildings to autonomous buildings. So the process of making the inefficient, isolated building into efficient buildings with electrification and a renewable energy, and ultimately with the AI and ML, getting into net zero, but ultimately getting to autonomous building and making it a net positive experience as well. So Johnson Controls here in India and Asia Pacific and globally have been providing these solutions to pretty much all the verticals, from healthcare to data centers, from commercial to petrochemical, manufacturing environments. So we have been providing these to making the human life better throughout the world. And again, Johnson Controls, our business is buildings. And Johnson Controls used to do automotive and other things, but right now we are focused on buildings. Historically, you can see companies that are focused on one thing, one domain. But here in Johnson Controls, we focus on multiple domains, and then with the IoT devices that we connect it, and then ultimately digital. So the three factors that is required for digital capabilities and ultimately achieving net zero is the efficiency, where you consume less energy, and then the electrification, that you connect the devices, that you can get the data and control when necessary, and then the digitalization. So again, we have launched our Openblue system, which basically an integrated digital platform where you gather data, analyze, predict, and make recommendations, and ultimately getting the most optimized solutions. We have launched Openblue solution in India in several of iconic buildings and as well as globally around the world. And Johnson Controls' journey for ESG, for sustainability, for net zero has started long ago. We're a 140-year-old company. We're one of the earliest to issue the carbon bond. We're one of the earliest to join the UN and other institutions' green initiatives, and we have been recognized as one of the most ethical companies for 15 years in a row. So we are bringing in that best practices. We're bringing in the technologies that is necessary to support the journey in India in achieving the net zero. And today, we will also be launching the Tech for Green India Mission Zero white paper. Again, the net zero is something that cannot be achieved by one company or government or one institution. It requires all of us to collaborate. It requires all of us to internalize that is possible. It requires all of us to come together, achieve net zero. And it's a very possible journey in India, and it's very excited how government and the institutions and industry and general public are coming together. And we are very much looking forward to be a big partner, big player in that journey. Thank you very much.